I call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Ham.
Here.
Toohill.
Here.
Esty.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Kness.
Yes.
Rowe.
Here.
And the baby's here. Thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda tonight? Anybody have any changes? If not, we will start with first thing with swearing in of our new officer. So there he is. You'll come up front and center. I'm going to just stand right there and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, very Harsch,
I, Barry Harsch,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of police officer
discharge all the duties of a police officer
in the city of Fairfield,
in the city of Fairfield,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now or hereafter required by law.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
This is our new officer. And I understand he was here for 3 days and he got some excitement last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and where you grew up and do you have family here? And
Yeah. So I grew up in Bloomfield, Davis County. I got my dad back there in the back row, my brother, my fiance here in the second row back. My dad was the sheriff of Davis County growing up. My brother's an officer there in Ottumwa, and so I am joining Fairfield. Not completely new, but definitely new and exciting.
great. Well, congratulations. I'm glad the whole family could come, and thanks to all the family service to our country and to our communities. Appreciate it, and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to our consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of the May 13th, 2024 council meeting. Approval of the May 24th, 2024 payroll in the amount of $150,834.12. Consent of park use permit for Bridge Church Serve Day, which is a noise exemption. Resolution of employment in the water department. Resolution of employment in the water department. Resolution of employment in the wastewater department. Resolution of employment in the Park and Recreation Department. Resolution of employment in the Engineering Department. Acceptance of Library Board minutes. Approval of a liquor license for La Notte and Hy-Vee. Approval of ACH payments to the Department of Revenue in the amount of $10,601.65. Approval of total claims in the amount of $1,213,564.62. We have 5 claims over $75,000 tonight. The first one being Boomerang Corporation for $176,280.10. This is for step 3. EBS, our insurance premium, for $75,926.91. Huntington Public Cap Corporation, step 3, $200,047.76. Wicks Construction for Highway 1, $125,589.39. And again, Woodruff Construction, again for step 3, $334,589.99. I take a motion to approve consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Okay, moved by Andy,
Second.
second by Esty. Okay, any questions?
I just think there's maybe one note, and I don't know how imperative this is, but there's another claim over $75,000. But we were just noticing it's for the Crow Creek Bridge one.
Oh, I
$79,284.89.
missed that too.
How much?
79,000. I missed the rest.
$284.89. I wrote it down.
You want the exact amount? The exact amount
Right,
is what?
$79,284.89. thank you for seeing that. Any other questions, comments? If not, please call the roll.
Candy,
Yes.
Esty,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Okay, so we have several public forum and appearances, so we will try to keep these, fairly brief, 5 minutes or under if we can. So first up is Brett Ferrel and Gail Thomas. This is our emergency management county hazard mitigation plan update.
Hello. So, I'm just here tonight to talk about our hazard mitigation plan for the county, which I know Mayor knows. We've discussed this in several EMA meetings. As everybody might not be aware, local governments are required to have a FEMA-approved local mitigation plan, hazard mitigation plan. Our last one was written before I started, and it needs to be updated every 5 years. It's not actually. It's required to be able to write certain grants and get federal money back in disasters. We have to have one updated. So it should have been updated in 21-22 timeframe. Kind of got put in the back burner. Some of that was because of funding issues. The mitigation plan that we currently have that's outdated that we're updating right now is 166 pages long. That's why I brought Gail Thomas with me. She's a planner. She's actually writing the plan with the help from me. What we're here tonight to do is just to kind of let everybody know what the process is. And we're going around to all the city councils to get their input, and we have some flyers or some surveys to hand out to the public that they can fill out. It just talks about what they think their greatest threats are to their communities. So she's in the process of writing, and when we talked about this, we got some quotes from other places that were much higher than Gail, and she's written Henry counties for them. And it has to be state approved and FEMA approved once it's written. But we're here tonight just to kind of discuss what the role is of local communities in this whole project. So I'll let her speak on what she's doing.
And I'd just like to preface that I remember you saying that you can't just take the old plan and
No.
tweak it. It's got to
No.
be brand new from scratch.
Yeah,
So,
and there's a process to get FEMA. I mean, FEMA's, it has to be approved through them. So you just can't, again, copy your old plan. Because things change, we want to make sure that we're understanding the risks for the community that might not have been there in 2015. And then, this whole plan goes through every community, not just Fairfield. Batavia, Packwood, Libertyville, Pleasant Plain will be at all their city councils. But it's very detailed on what it lists out. It has, I wrote a list of everything that's got in there. But it has demographics, workforce, property valuations, geography, water and floodplain maps, transportation maps, including railways, pipelines, where it goes through and everything, critical facilities, schools, it will involve the schools and everything. So it's very detailed of so we can actually try to mitigate some of these either natural disasters or others before. And some of these grants you can write through FEMA, such as the hazard mitigation grant, we could not write without an updated plan. And that's where it covers such, if we deemed it necessary through this process that we need to build tornado shelters somewhere, we could actually write the grants for those through this process, but without this plan, we can't do that. So I'll let Gail talk.
Thank you.
I'll stay here if there's any questions.
Okay. Hi. So, like Brett said, we've been working on the plan for several months, actually, and there's a lot of this I can just do from my desk, that's research and data collection and all that. But we really now are at the point where we need the input from the communities. And so this is like a cover of what your plan's going to look like. And it's probably going to come in about 140 pages, it looks like. I try to minimize the fluff. I just want, I'm very much to edit, just get the basics. So we don't want a lot of unnecessary wording in there. So I try to make it readable and usable. That's my goal. What we need from the public and from the cities now is we have a public opinion survey, and it'd be really great if we could get as many official type people to fill it out, but we really need a lot of public opinion too. So Our goal is to get this out to a variety of people and some city staff and officials too, to get a wide range of opinions. We just put the natural hazards on here. That's the main thing I need from you. We have a couple of other hazards that we're going to be adding, which I can get most of the information from Brett and the city officials and county officials, which would be dam failure and hazmat incident, like if you had a spill or, you know, some kind of transportation hazmat thing. I didn't put that on the public opinion thing. I just did the natural hazards for this. I've got about 30 copies of it here that I printed for you, which you can distribute if you'd be so willing, or look at yourself. And then if you can print them, and maybe some people are willing to like leave them on the desk at City Hall to for public to pick up as they're paying their water bill, or some people like to put them out with the water bill, you know, to try to get more in. So however you choose to do it will be helpful.
When do you want these back?
Oh, I should put that on there. I need them back in about 2 weeks, or 3, depending on what do you think you can do?
Well, I can't go out in the water bill and
No.
get back in 2
No,
weeks.
no, couldn't do that, could it?
And we're in the process of doing the water quality report right now.
Yeah.
I did issue a press release and told people they could ask for it at City Hall.
Okay.
Will that be?
We can put it on our website and our Facebook page also.
Is it
Okay.
something we could do a Survey Monkey, or, you know, like
Yes.
an online type
That
of?
would be great if you were
I think
willing to do
you-
that. That would
yeah.
be great.
Can you help us do that?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be great to get it online.
Yeah,
We can.
so
Paper's not,
you know,
paper's not gonna happen quickly.
Yeah.
It has to be something that's accessible online.
yeah, and I that's unrealistic to say 2 weeks. So yeah, within, let's see, by the middle of July is really my deadline. Mid-July.
Excuse me, Gail, what's your relationship with EMA? You work with?
I'm an independent contractor.
I see.
I formerly worked in Oklahoma doing hazard mitigation plans, and then since I've been here, I did Henry County. I've got one that's virtually complete for Keokuk County, and then you guys needed one too, so I've done several of these, but primarily I've worked doing these in Oklahoma.
Thank you.
So, but your hazards are a little different. I'm used to like 280,000 acres burned every year, and you've got like 150 or 2. So the wildfires are not as big an issue here, but the drought and wind and storms and winter ice and all that is much more. So it's a little different. So it's a little interesting. And I'm actually from Fairfield. I've just been working out of state for. So, and we want independent comments too. So my email is on there. So if you just want to send me one comment, and people don't have to fill out the whole thing, but just any comment you want to make about a concern you have, or especially a solution that you'd like to see, that would be extremely valuable also. Yeah, independent comments are really good. So is there anything else you'd like me to tell you about?
Do you have any questions? Council? Okay,
And
great.
the next thing that we'll do is we'll be sending out sample action items, and I'll send that to your clerk, who can let you guys have it, and then you can just review it. If you have any comments on the action steps that we're recommending, you can let us know about that too, and that'll be in a couple of weeks.
Great, thank you. Go ahead. Are you gonna say something? Oh, okay, you're done.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Alecs Mickunas, our library director, is gonna talk about his 3-year strategic plan report.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak with you this evening. I wanted to just share that the annual Summer Reading Challenge for kids at kickoff party is this Saturday from 10 to 3 p.m. Our amazing children's librarian, Sarah Martindale, was able to raise over $5,000 from the generous contributions of our local businesses and just people who love the library. So it's going to be a really terrific Summer Reading Challenge with lots of visiting performers, educators. It's really exciting, and it's sure to be a lot of fun this weekend. But tonight I'd like to talk to you about the library's new strategic plan. This 3-year strategic plan for 2024 through 2027 represents a broadening of the vision that was developed following a 1-year plan that was initiated in 2023. The 2023 through 2024 plan prioritized the enhancement of the library's physical space and the acquisition of new digital resources such as the MyLibro smartphone app, Hoopla and Canopy streaming services, and free digital access to newspapers. Our new 3-year strategic plan more substantially emphasizes efforts to expand staff capacities, further develops the library as a center for the arts, volunteering, and sustainability, and reorients the library organization toward a redefinition of our space, services, and resources in alignment with the vision and mission of the library. The new strategic plan maintains that early literacy is essential to our mission, that collaboration with city, local businesses, and nonprofits makes us stronger, and that promotion of library offerings must be a continuous creative endeavor. The 2024 through 2027 strategic plan is informed by data collected at a public community conversation event held on January 24th, 2024 at the library, recommendations from library staff, and community survey results submitted by nearly 200 participants from January through March 2024, and meetings with library board committee members. The strategic plan is divided into 3 priority areas. 1, nurturing curiosity among adults and youth. 2, connecting people, places, and things. And 3, empowerment through greater access to education, information, and technology. I would like to highlight just a few goals from our new plan tonight. First, we have a goal of increasing adult program participation by 25%, which we will accomplish through expanding our library-sponsored book clubs, increasing tech help programs for seniors, and developing a fiber arts program in collaboration with FACC, local artists, and businesses. Next, we have a goal of developing a core of 20 capable active volunteers, which we will build through assigning a secondary role of volunteer coordinator to one of our full-time staff and developing new procedures to interview and train new volunteers. We have a goal to become a center for sustainability in Fairfield, which we will accomplish through partnerships with the Southeast Iowa Sierra Club, the Resilient Action Committee, and the Office of the Fairfield Sustainability Coordinator. We will also obtain certification through the Iowa Library Association-sponsored Sustainable Libraries Initiative. A final goal I would like to share is that of increasing use of our electronic resources by 300% by 2027 through increased community outreach, a redesign of our library website, and a transition to library software that utilizes AI for cataloging and library collection management. I would also like to share about the library's renewal project. The 2024 through 27 plan introduces our intention to address the need for essential updates and enhancements to the building. Our library, though a relatively new construction in comparison with other city buildings in Fairfield, will be 30 years old in 2026. Public library services in America have changed considerably since our library moved from the old Carnegie building to our current location at 104 West Adams Avenue in 1996. Providing access to print-based materials will continue to remain the most essential service at Fairfield Public Library. In fact, Fairfield Public Library maintains the largest collection of physical items among all public libraries in Iowa with comparably sized communities and funding. Additionally, our circulation is in the top 3 among size E libraries according to the State Library's annual survey from 2021, which is the most recent data we have. However, as our society's relationship to information continues to be impacted by digital access to news, literature, and other media, public libraries are further emphasizing other offerings such as programs and services, as well as the third space function of libraries as meeting places. Based on anticipated changes in library use by our community in the coming decades, architecture and design services have been deemed necessary as we assess our building's basic infrastructure, space allocation, material storage, and furnishings. In fall of 2023, I contacted Minneapolis-based architecture firm MSR Design, a firm which not only designed the Fairfield Public Library in the early 1990s, but also designed the award-winning Missoula Public Library and the Madison Public Library, to discuss MSR providing proposals for a phased library renewal project. once funding for project proposals is fully secured, representatives from the firm will visit Fairfield in the second quarter.
Alex?
Yes.
What is MSR?
MSR, I can't think of it right now, but it's the last names of the 3 architects that founded
see.
the
Okay.
architectural firm.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. So representatives from the firm will visit Fairfield in the second quarter of this coming fiscal year to meet with key stakeholders and discuss the community's vision for the library renewal project. That's all. Any questions or comments?
I mean, it sounds like you've really put some work into it, you and the board.
Definitely.
Very forward-thinking, very forward-looking.
Thank
So
you.
we're happy to have that.
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
can
and
speak as a council member, say that.
It's interesting. I mean, in library school, well, before I went to library school, I thought it would basically be like a librarian, like many people envision librarians, sitting at a desk, maybe reading a novel occasionally when things get really quiet. That's not the reality whatsoever. I mean, everybody at the library works so extremely hard, and I've never worked anywhere near as hard as this before coming to Fairfield, even before I was the director. But one thing that was shared with me in library school was libraries are really changing, and you need to make sure that you collect all that data to make sure everyone understands how important libraries are and how well the library is used. With our population aging the way it is, we really, really need to prepare our library for the next generation to, really take advantage of it. And we're really focusing on balancing, technology offerings as well as non-tech based offerings, because we know from some research that, kind of young people spending too much time with technology and not connecting with their peers, and others as much can be harmful to young people. So we really want to develop the library as a space where young people can connect.
And then there's old people like us who still want a book in our hands.
And you'll have that too, always.
Great,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Any questions, council? Okay, great.
Thank you. Oh, and I did prepare copies of the strategic plan. There are 10 copies.
Great.
You can also find this on our website in the About tab under Vision, Mission, and Strategic Plan. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. So next up is Mary Welch. And Mary, before you come up, I remember we had a meeting in December, and I thought, just very quickly, John, if you could give a minute sketch of where we've been since December so that the council understands where we're at, and then we'll let Mary talk.
Fair enough. In December, we had come from court meetings, and Ms. Welch was at a point where the city was either going ahead with enforcement of a nuisance civil infraction proceeding against her that the court was prepared to enter, or she was going to, because she had done some compliance with parts of what we requested. She was asking for additional time. The progress that had been made on the building, which is the Penny Lane building on the southeast corner of the square, over a period of months, there was a new roof installed. The building has been red tagged for the prior 12 months, and that means there hasn't been occupancy, there hasn't been rental of business places on the ground floor. And so at the meeting that Ms. Welch appeared at, she asked for additional time. The court has ordered that she have at least a 4-month period. The council was agreeable to, I believe, the 4-month period to show progress, substantial progress as far as the interior of the building, in order to either get it back into functioning status or inform us as to what has prevented that from occurring. The inside of the building has problems with moisture, infestation, wiring difficulty, ventilation difficulty, areas of mold above the ceiling, and other things that make it non-habitable under about 20 to 30 cited problems from an inspection that occurred.
So that 4-month is up, correct?
Yes, the 4 months has passed.
So has there been any steps since the 4 months has passed? Or we're ready to take the next step at this point?
I'm never physically present on the sites of these things. We
Okay.
might want to ask Weston McKee what he knows. He's here and could inform the council
Okay.
on what he believes the present status to be.
Okay, great, thank you.
Good evening, council.
Yeah, so basically since the 4 months has been up, right?
Yes. We did an inspection here
Okay.
about roughly a month ago.
Okay,
Very little has been done. There's been some demo done. The workmanship of it is even very low. Some of the walls have, look like they've basically been kicked out at the bottom for the demo. But no substantial improvements at all to the building after the roof has been put on.
okay,
I believe there's still tuck pointing that needs to be done. Just like John said, there's a whole list of things, but
okay,
basically no improvement since the last time we were here.
okay.
So Weston,
Okay, so.
when
yeah,
did
go
this
ahead.
4 months run? When did it expire? The 4-month extension?
April 28th, I believe.
We're
Okay.
well past that. We're about 6 months into that 4 months. About what we are now.
Okay, great. So Mary, can you, I guess, come up to the podium and share what you want to share?
Good evening. I am asking for an extension of time to fix the building beyond the 4 months that I was given. Because I needed all that time. I used all of that time to conquer the greatest challenge of the job, which is to find the money to do it. And there's a letter from Paul Miller saying that I have raised the funds. It is not an easy task, and I will explain why. I have also solved my pain problem by finally consenting to undergo spinal fusion surgery at the University of Iowa Hospital that turned out to be successful just a few weeks ago. And for the first time in 4 years, I can actually walk the earth relatively pain-free. And with a specific plan to be presented by a fellow citizen, there is the possibility of a better future, or the prospect of a better future for the building and the community if the extension of time is granted. But right now, let me just explain why the 4-month period I was given was not realistic or doable, because of the amount of damage that needs to be repaired. The size of this building. We're not talking of one building, we're talking of 2 buildings with 22 rental units that could not be reconstructed and restored in 4 months, because the time period I was given to fix up is not ideal. It was the winter season, because I did not have the money to do the full restoration after putting on the $100,000 roof just a month before, and because I felt blindsided by the 4-month fix-up period being a complete deviation from all prior understandings and communications and agreements with the city attorney and the city inspector. So let me start with what kind of damage needs to be repaired now. The damage that needs to be repaired now, I would say that more than half of it, maybe 70%, maybe 80% of it, is what I would put in the category of self-inflicted. that occurred after the shutdown. That would be double, triple, possibly quadruple the damage that was existing when the building was shut down by Wes in November of 2022. So let me explain. On that day, when he first set foot on the premises and handed out a 48-hour notice to vacate, the building was functioning as a normal operating building on the square, with retail tenants on the ground floor, and the second floor was 100% rented. People were living there. But he handed me a 59-item repairs list with the main starring role being the leaking roof. This is a roof that I was in the process of installing, a metal roof that was not finished. It was in the process of being installed in stages. So we're not talking about a roof, an ancient roof that the owner had neglected. In 2009, my husband and I installed a foam roof financed by the Iowa State Bank and the Energy Efficiency Program of Alliant Energy. This was a 10-year roof with a 10-year manufacturer's warranty that performed very well, never leaked. The previous inspector in the records of the building department will not show a single leak happening in this building from 2009 to 2019, contrary to the announcement made by the inspector in this public forum in December that this building had been continuously leaking for 10 years. It is simply not true. And I will be able to disprove that in court if necessary, while the inspector will not be able to prove it. So the roof was leaking. The metal roof that was being installed was leaking. The warranty for the foam roof had expired in 2019. A small drip began happening in room 209 that expanded and worsened to the point that I felt I should install a new roof in 2021 and 2022. And this is the metal roof that was in the process of being installed on the day that it was shut down. But the leaks were localized in 3 areas. 8 to 10 ceiling tiles had fallen in area 1. Half a sheet of drywall had fallen in area 2, and water stains were present in the ceilings of area 3. That was the extent of the roof damage at the time of the shut-off. So, of the shutdown. I was expecting that in the normal course of things, I would be ordered, just stop the leaks. Do what you need to do, finish your roof, stop the leaks, then we could send the tenants back in. But that is not the direction that the inspector took. A lawsuit was immediately initiated in December, ordering me to hire an outside engineering firm to perform a structural analysis of the roof system. So it was a dramatic jump into visions of imminent collapse of the roof structure and the Penny Lane building itself. So when the engineers arrived in January, before going to my building, they spoke with Wes first because I told them this study is being ordered by the building department. When they arrived at the building in January, their findings are contained in the first 2 sentences of their report, which is the first report, which said, while we did not find dry rot or decay in the areas where we could access the roof framing, these areas where they could access the roof framing would be referring to those 3 leaking spots, which would be the worst parts of the building, which they defined as being such in the report, because ceilings had fallen down in those areas, and they could look through to the roof framing and check the integrity of the roof members with their instruments and tools.
Excuse me, Ms.
So-
Welch, do we have that report?
Yes, I can provide you.
Do we
the
have it
report.
tonight?
Oh, shoot.
So I
It's in
think
my
there's going to be a
computer.
disagreement in reports. So I think
I
what we,
complied.
and all of that has kind of gone past. So now we need to know where we're at right now. So if you could just jump forward and,
Okay. Where we are
really
right
give us
now.
where you're at right now with this whole thing.
Where we are right
Sounds
now.
like you've
Yes.
maybe raised some money. So
Yeah.
can you tell us about that? And
Well, there's a signed proof of funds letter from Paul Miller. He looked at my bank statements. I showed him that now I have the money to fix this building. It will be an equivalent of brand new construction. Because during the year that the roof was open, because I was ordered to replace a roof in the middle of winter that my narration would have proved to you was not necessary, as borne out later by the results of the roofing crews removing the old foam roof that was bone dry. By the time I was ordered to remove the foam roof and the metal roof, because the second engineering study that occurred in February, smack in the middle of winter, found wet insulation above the ceilings and then a wet roof deck above that. So the engineers speculated that the foam roof that I installed in 2009 that had never leaked for 10 years must be soaking wet and therefore must be removed. So I brought in an expert to try to show that there's another way of dealing with a foam roof other than removing it. This was an R42 foam roof that was certified and inspected by Alliant Energy as providing that high level of insulation. But the fixation was between the inspector and the engineers was order her to remove all existing roofs and install a brand new roof. As soon as I heard that, I knew that now I had a financial problem. Only that my tried and true source of funds in the past, every time I needed money for capital expenditures, one phone call to Iowa State Bank, and they would supply the money because they were holding the mortgage on the building, which was the largest on the square. And this loan had a 100% perfect paying history. But this time, I could not raise money through financing, despite my excellent credit, with all the banks in town, with all the banks in the state, with all the banks in the country, because that is what people involved in the property business do. They maintain their credit. Overnight, I was a real estate person who couldn't borrow and did not have any rental income. So I had to scramble around to raise the funds, eventually to put on the new roof a few months later. But in the interim, because the roof was open, I could not button up my metal roof. We knew what was wrong with the metal roof. We had not finished the flashing between the metal roof and the parapet walls of the building, and tightened up or sealed the joints between the metal roof and all manner of protrusions into the roof, such as air conditioning equipment. For instance, the servicing noodle house should have been lifted up and the metal put under it. And then all the joints sealed. But I was never given the chance to do that. I was ordered to do an engineering study, do a structural study, and then the structural study said, remove everything and install a new roof. I tried to retain my foam roof by bringing in an expert who knew what owners of foam roofs do when they are wet in the hurricane season in Florida. This expert had direct experience. Foam roofs could dry. They could be made to dry. There's a process of doing that. In the end, when my roofers came in to remove my foam roof, it was bone dry. This was after the summer. And what happened to the wet roof deck? The wet roof deck by the summer was flat, it was sound, and it was dry. So that the new roofing company who brought in the new EPDM roof did not have to charge me for modifying or for removing any kind of rot or doing any kind of repair to the roof deck.
Okay, so where
The
are
roof
we
deck.
now? We understand again that
Okay.
you have a disagreement with our code
Where we are
enforcement.
now.
So now where are we now?
Where we are now is that the damage that I now have to repair has multiplied because of an open roof for a full 12 months. It was open because of all of the zigzags that happened between the shutdown and the roof installation. Um, rains have come in, mold has grown, and I have had to remove. I'm engaged right now in mold remediation. Mold remediation involves removal, treatment, and encapsulation. So right now the building is standing with walls open, cavities open. It will be the equivalent of new construction, rebuilding the interior. If I was handed a 59-item repairs list on the day of the shutdown, I could have managed that in 4 months. I could have, if I had been able to shut down the roof leaks from the metal roof that was being installed, and if it had been wet, the foam roof could have dried. There's a process for drying it. Then I could have addressed the 59-item repairs list. A 59-item repairs list for a 22-unit rental building is not bad. That is on par with the annual inspection repairs list that landlords must do when they renew their annual rental permits.
Excuse me, what was the date of the shutdown?
November of 2022.
So that was November of 2022, and you had 59 items to complete.
Correct. Yes.
And we're over a year and a half after that.
Yeah, the main
Okay.
problem with that 59-item list was the roof. I think almost maybe 15 items pertain to the roof, all of which is now gone. Now the 59-item list consisted of things like, I would say, lightweight things such as clothing found on top of the water heater, or a drain.
So Mary,
One-tub drain, not
I'm
drain.
sorry, I don't want to get into the weeds of this. At this point, you have money either to fix the building, and so you're asking for how long of an extension, and or you mention in your appearance here about Chris Johnson, and he's not here.
Oh, he's
So, he is here. Sorry, Chris. You're behind Lee. I couldn't see you.
Okay.
So
Okay,
let's
so
go down
I
those
will
two
either
roads.
fix
I don't
the
want to get in the weeds of
Okay,
what needs to be
okay.
fixed. We have a list. We know that we've had a list for a long time with
Yes.
nothing being done. And
No,
so
it's
where
not true that nothing is being done, because
where are we at now?
I have raised
How
the
long
funds.
do you need to fix the building? Or
I'm asking
are
for a
you-
year. I'm asking for a year. Why? Because it is incredible. The amount of damage in the interior of this building dwarfs the challenge of removing the old layers of roof
So can
and
you speak
installing
now
the new
to
one.
why you noted that Chris Johnson will speak about the potential acquisition of the building?
He has a plan, a specific plan,
Okay.
that I think would be the best
Sure.
outcome for this building that I would like to endorse, I would like to support, and
Does
I
that
would like to
include
cooperate
the year
with.
of work that you
Yes,
would do?
that is the reason we're asking for a year. That will
So can we
include.
hear from Chris now at this
Yeah.
point?
Okay.
That's
Chris?
okay by me. Chris, do you want to speak to that?
I'm Chris Johnson with Johnson Real Estate, and we own and operate about 11 buildings on or near the square, and we're also the project manager for the Old Armory project. And of our buildings, we have the former Fairfield Ledger building, so basically right across the alley from this building. So we certainly have an interest in seeing something positive done with the building, whether it's us or someone else in the city. We're not here to make any promises, but we've been conversing with Mary and with FIDA the last year or two about the building and what potentially could be done with it. Our vision, which is no better or worse than anyone else's, is that we would like to see the building developed as a boutique hotel with a nice restaurant and other retail on the ground floor. Recently, we have been talking with a boutique hospitality developer that has done stuff in Fairfield before, and they have expressed interest in participating in a joint venture to do what we described. But they've indicated that with what they have on their agenda, it would be 6 months before they could really address doing a feasibility study and a due diligence studies. Our concern and view would be based on the condition of the building, and we have been through it 2 or 3 times with Mary's representative and other potential developers, is that we would have to see a much more extensive engineering study just to see beyond the apparent disrepair that it's in, what really needs to be done in order to make a project feasible. So from our view, it's probably 6 months or a year to be able to really understand what can be done, and then if it can be funded. We have some level of confidence that if the project is properly conceived, that we would be able to put together local funding to do what we think would be the best use for the building. But again, I'm not here to make any promises. There's many steps to go through. Potentially, if there was an agreement between the city and Mary and whatever role we and the other developers and perhaps FIDA might play in it, that perhaps the required demolition could be going on. If Mary has funds to do that, an engineering study could be going on to really get to the next stage.
So Chris, what I hear you saying is that you're not ready to make a deal with her to buy this building and start working on it right away.
No, we would have to go through many other steps before we would get to that point.
I'm curious, I have a question.
Yeah.
Has the building been presented to you at a price, at a dollar amount, that you could just purchase it as is?
There's been some discussion, but nothing definitive. But I mean, one of the other concerns is whether we can even get insurance on the building.
Sure.
And cost of insurance is one thing now. In some buildings, even getting insurance is becoming
and then I
problematic.
have a second question. Sure. Do you feel comfortable without overseeing the renovations that Mary would procure having been done? Do you feel comfortable with the work that she would hire without you overseeing that work?
Oh, I don't want to overstate what we can do versus what anyone else can do. I mean,
But we could give a 12-month, extension, and it's, work that is absolutely subpar, and then at the end of 12 months, you're like, no, this work is terrible. We're not going to, buy the building. So I'm just, trying to kind of go down the path of what does it look like for you at the end of the 12 months, like if we required your involvement, like you oversee the project.
Yeah, and I want to be very transparent that again, there's engineering, and I think that Weston could comment on this, but our view is the building has to be completely scraped or gutted, and then there's another level of engineering at that point that to really know what's feasible, and then you have the whole concept and financial feasibility to determine if it can go forward. I mean, our view of this, as we bought many buildings on the square and in other communities, is it's not something that you would approach and say, well, at whatever price, even if it were zero, that this is a great deal. There's a lot of problems. The depth of the problems, we don't know. I don't think any of us know until we really get deep into it. Our view all along, as we've talked with Ed and Ed Malloy at FIDA, and before that Josh at FIDA, is that it's a community project. It's something that we feel for what we're doing with the Armory, that hospitality, quality rooms are needed. We understand there's other things in the works, but it would be part of that. But it's a community project where we would hope that different interests in the community would invest in it without expectation of a fabulous return, but some return, a solid low-yield investment that would be great for the community.
Well,
That's our perception.
The reality is, we have another building that's being rehabbed, right? We know that. We know the approximate cost of that, what they're doing. I'm just gonna throw out $1.5 million, give or take, 100,000 or more.
You're talking about the turret building? Or,
Yes.
Yeah.
So my question would be, ultimately, I don't know what that letter says, and I don't know if we
I'll
can
have
share
a
it.
chance, I'll tell you.
But, you know, do we have that much money procured to fix that building? Because that's what's gonna take, like you say, construction.
But also, Bear, it kind of sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Johnson, but that your interest in the building is not dependent on the punch list that the city has given Ms. Welch to complete.
I'm sorry.
Your interest in the building is not dependent on the items that the city has requested Ms. Welch repair, because you're talking about potentially stripping it all down and then building it back up. So if we're saying this is what you need to do to get the building compliant with our city code, that's really separate from your potential interest.
Well, that's our view. I'm not
Right.
saying that there isn't another approach to it, but that's our view. I mean, our feeling is to not do it fully properly, that it's good money after bad, because
Right.
it's going to end up in the same position. But that's just our view. I could be
Right.
wrong.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate your comments.
Yeah. So, John, do you
Yeah,
wanna share?
if I can butt in a minute here. Ms. Welch brought me 2 documents. One of them is a printout of procedures that,
That's just to show you that I had a successful surgery.
right, you had a surgical spinal fusion and a number of procedures, and it was successful. That is then referenced in a letter dated today by Paul Miller of Miller Law Office, and it says that Mary had undergone major medical surgery and had her spine fused. This has delayed considerably her abilities to complete the necessary repairs. Now that the surgery is completed and she has undergone therapy, she will now be able to work with contractors and complete necessary repairs. The gist of the last part of the letter is that he has reviewed her assets with her, and that she has asked that he verify that she has cash on hand in various accounts and pending real estate sale of 306 East Burlington. In review of these assets, she has approximately $450,000 in liquid assets. This is evidence that she has necessary funds to complete repairs. At this time, we respectfully request additional 1 year for Mary to complete repairs. I spent part of the afternoon with Mr. Miller, not anything to do with this situation. We had a real estate deal between other people in an awkward closing situation, and it worked fine. I didn't realize that I'd be getting a letter in an hour or 2 or 3 from Mr. Miller. I have no question that Mr. Miller, if he says he inspected financial assets of hers with her, that's what he saw, or he would not sign a letter to represent that. So as far as proof of funds, there's a comment by Ms. Welch in her address form made out to the council, where she indicates that some of the banks in the Philippines apparently have a different way of providing proof of funds, and consequently she was not able to provide something that would ordinarily be a statement from a bank, a letter of credit, or some other form of financial confirmation beyond what she did with Mr. Miller. So we don't have Mr. Miller here to talk with us tonight or to question. I don't have a reason to doubt Mr. Miller's letter. I don't know anything about Philippine bank law as far as how you proof funds availability
I guess
from another country. You might.
no, I don't. But I have a comment to a different topic in that this is not the only property that is in 657A
Right.
that she has that needs fixed up. I mean, how many additional properties are we speaking to at this point, Weston, that have not been fixed or sold? Or
In Fairfield, she probably has 2 more that need fixed. One that's probably borderline. She has supposedly she's sold one for sure, and she has 2 other ones on the market, one of which is gonna get demoed down. One of which I believe is gonna become a house for somebody on Burlington. The other one on Burlington is being rehabbed by the buyer.
I saw
now,
that, yeah.
Which was definitely a
Great.
success story for us on
Great.
it. But she has 2 other properties that are sitting vacant right now because she can't pass inspections on. And then one that's a rental that is in bad shape. I don't know the extent of it because we haven't done an inspection on it for a while. But,
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so the request is a 12-month extension. So council, I'd like to wrap this up. We've spent too long on it. So, in my view, you can, somebody can make a motion, you can take it to committee and hash out details a little bit more.
I'll put forward a motion. I think no one here on council wants to see a year roll by and then more excuses come on why the building is still in a horrible shape. So, because that seems to be a pattern at this point. And so, I'm gonna put forward the motion that we extend her time to fix the building for 3 months, with the understanding that in 3 months, if serious improvements have been made, we might look at another extension. But
So that's a motion for 3 months with a review period at 3 months and a possible extension after that. Is there a second to that motion?
Can I ask Weston one more question real quick? Is there imminent danger to adjacent buildings right now?
I'd say no imminent danger to the building that's connected to it.
Okay, there's only the one.
Stabilizing the roof has helped. There's quite a bit of tuck pointing outside that's still allowing water to go in, stuff like that. Mold issues is also,
Right.
is an issue for the other building and stuff like that.
And that's
But
the building
as-
to the south of that one?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
But as far as it collapsing, I don't feel like at this point, can't say that there's a imminent
Okay.
danger for that.
Did we decide what we were gonna do? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say sorry for.
Oh, yeah, at the end of 4 months, if nothing had been done, had we already determined how we were gonna move forward? Or is that gonna be referred to like property committee and then we're gonna, like we've done with some other properties, like we're gonna pursue 657A or whatever it is?
That's a good question. What does happen next? Suppose we
Well,
don't
we
extend.
had a couple possibilities. One possibility was that we were in court under an infraction process where the court has about a half a dozen alternatives, including ordering the city to fix what hasn't been fixed. And that's been discussed in court with Ms. Welch. We've also had the benefit of Ms. Welch's consulting expert, Carl Wagner, who came and talked to you before about his ideas on the roof and the ways that things could be done that would make the building more stable. I believe that one of the things that was done after she got a roofing contractor going on the place was that you stabilized your parapets. The parapets were in a condition high up where you look at them and you really don't know what's there, but when you get close to them and you look at what's there, you get scared. And Weston cited those as something that were a hazard immediately. And I don't think we had disagreement from the Welch family about the fact that those needed to get fixed.
Some of the exterior has been fixed.
Right, there's been tuck pointing and there's been cement work around the parapets. That had to be done for any of the roof work to work, whether it was a Carl Wagner design with a gable or whether it was a flat roof. The parapets were an issue. So I'll credit her for that. But we did have over 50 things that Weston cited that were all within the scope of our ordinance and our rental inspection code. Those were talked over repeatedly in court. This is a history of a couple years of extensions of 2 or 3 months at a time. I appreciate health concerns can make a difference as far as whether you get to move an inch. I also appreciate that monetary concerns, we had meetings with Ms. Welch previously about how some of this could be financed. The roof, there was a series of extensions where it all went to getting a roof contractor that was going to do it up to either the roofer's code or a code that met both the requirement of our code, the state fire marshal, and just concerns we had about other parts that were in the process of putting a roof on that were other hazards. We didn't want brickwork up at the top of the building falling in on an open area if we had roof removed.
So,
John, I just want to make a,
no, go ahead.
I just want to make a comment though, having your building rented out and making full income on it and not ever making a repair is why we're here today, right?
That's
So
part of the
we
problem.
continue to have this conversation, but they've owned the building for a multitude of years and have never reinvested in it when they were making the money on it. And I just fail to see that that's going to continue to happen, so.
The reason that we had 50 plus cited problems was habitability code. We have a simplified rental housing code that isn't as strict as the national codes, but it does go to ventilation, appropriate electricity, air quality and mold, the roof, the leaks.
I think you would find a lot more violations if you had a structural engineer come in and it was opened up. And that's
that
what
was asked for during parts of our
and it never got
proceedings in
opened up.
court.
And
Yeah, so,
Sections of the roof were opened up
yeah,
to where we could just get a glimpse at some of the areas.
yeah, we've been through this enough times in court, I don't think we need to retry the whole case over here.
So if we do not grant another 4-month extension, from my understanding, discussions could still continue with Mr. Johnson if that is the way in which it's going. But as far as the city's case, would that remain in magistrate court, or would we have to make that determination?
We'd be in magistrate court with the magistrate ordering.
An
or
abatement.
One of the things he could order is the city go fix some of the things that haven't been fixed, that were promised they would be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the
take-
time frame for that, John?
We thought we were reasonable last Christmas time in talking about 4 months, January, February, March, April, to get some work done. The upstairs.
What would it be the time frame the magistrate would allow?
Whatever we recommend, probably.
And would it be we were required to fix it or to abate it, no matter how we define that?
Well, then we go over to something else that Weston had negotiated with Mr. Wagner and with Ms. Welch as far as what I call the top 15. And these were the things that were the most serious things requiring abatement. And those are the things that we assured Ms. Welch if she got those fixed, we'd let her put tenants back in. We weren't going to red tag it for the rest of its existence. If things got fixed, if mold got abated, if the leaks in the ceilings and the ceilings falling down stopped, if there were some things where there were makeshift electrical solutions, like instead of putting something through the walls in conduit or at least fishing it through the walls, there were places where electrical wires, somebody just took a long drill bit, drilled through the wall, and then stuck an electrical wire through the wall to have electricity in another room. Now, I've done some of my own electrical work in the garage, but I'm not that foolish to think nobody's gonna notice.
So, John, does it mean that if we don't grant the extension, there's still going to be time if Ms. Welch decides to make some improvements on the property?
Yeah.
There's still going to be time, is that right?
She'll be back in court arguing for a
And
different schedule
it'll be
than we
weeks,
are
maybe
arguing
months,
for.
is that correct? Even
Right.
without an extension?
Right. Now, that's one way this could go, is we just follow through on the abatement, civil infraction, where we are already there, waiting for the court to say what we can do next.
I think we need
Another
to
way
address
would
the
be to
motion
treat it
before
as a
we-
657A.
I think we need to address the motion that's on the floor now before
Right.
we
Yeah.
go down another rabbit hole
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
So-
Yeah.
So enough said
Um,
from me.
all right,
Yeah,
I
okay, so
will-
let's go back to the motion,
I will
which
second.
is,
I will second Matthew's motion.
okay, it's a 3-month extension with a possible extension after that if we see significant
I'm just-
progress.
How do we define significant?
The
Do
list.
you wanna talk about
what
the-
you guys think is going to happen in 3 months?
Yeah.
Well, we haven't
We're
voted
just
yet.
kicking
We,
it
we
down.
haven't voted on the motion yet.
I agree.
So do you want to
Okay.
define what
I mean, you
significant
should
means?
Even second it though.
I do want to second it.
Okay.
Yes.
So do you want to define what significant means?
No,
Well, no.
That's the motion.
there's
Okay.
no way to define
I'll
that.
do it later.
Well, he mentioned 15 things.
So
15 top things.
If there's 15 top things, the other thing that needs to be
You guys, we can't.
part
we can't.
of the
but we
composition.
do need
Just
to
need to vote
do
on
need
it.
to address the motion that's on the floor.
Yep.
And we need to vote on it, and then we can go. If there's
Okay.
something after that, we can do.
All right,
So
okay, do that.
Discuss
Okay,
it.
so any other discussion
Yeah,
regarding that? Sorry.
Just very quickly, I think the extension is unnecessary. If there's going to be time, even in the process we're undergoing, to give Ms. Welch time, if she's going to make improvements, to the property, she's going to have time to take significant steps that we will see if we're going to see them.
And additionally, in one of the scenarios, what the city is requiring of her to do is not even relevant because it's gonna be stripped down to the studs and then rebuilt anyway, so.
Now, what has
Okay.
changed since we filed the infractions is the building sat essentially vacant now for a year. It would qualify to be a 657A taking
Right.
if that was the ultimate leverage
We
to
wanted
get the
it-
building
yeah.
fixed.
Take it to
Okay.
property committee and make that determination
Okay.
down the road of what our options were.
But the reality is, I'm not sure we really have the budget for that either, right now. So that's, that's another discussion. So, if there's no other questions, seeing none, let's call the roll.
Rowe,
Yeah.
Toohill,
no.
Ham,
No.
Gandy,
No.
Esti,
No,
Kness.
No.
Okay, so that motion has failed. Any other
I'd make a
motions?
motion
at this-
to proceed with the 657A.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second that one too.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to proceed with 657A. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just need to understand, John, you're saying there's two choices. 657A is one choice, is one
The
path.
657A would be starting a whole new lawsuit in district court.
Wait, oh,
It's not
Yeah.
the same thing as the suit we have. We've gone all the way through the hearing process in the magistrate court to get an order for abatement of infraction violations.
so, okay, what
The
do you
15
suggest
things,
is
one
our
by
attorney
one.
that we do?
Well, at this point, if you're gonna need to have a discussion with Ways and Means about 657A, then I'd say table it and go have your discussion with your other committees before
Can
you
I-
decide.
could we just deny the extension and then refer it to a committee?
You can do that.
I'll retract my motion.
Okay. Good, so the motion's off the floor.
Correct.
You're okay with that, Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Or Tom? You
Yes.
did that?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I will move that we deny the extension and that we refer it to property, Ways and Means. I'm not sure where, Ways and Means, let's do.
Yeah,
Ways
I
and
think you
Means.
gotta talk about the money aspect. of
Yeah,
it.
let's talk about the money first.
I would second.
Okay.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to deny the extension and move it to Ways and Means.
So does that mean you want to move forward with us setting a court date?
I think we probably need to meet
Yeah.
before we tell
Yeah.
you yes or no.
Yeah.
Let's do it sooner rather than later.
What this motion is going to allow is there will be a time gap where Ms. Welch can go ahead and do some work if she wants to before anything happens, either with an order from the magistrate court or anything is filed in district court. But not too much time. You're talking about, I'm assuming your committee would meet sometime within the next 10 to 20 days.
Hopefully in the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
So we might have a recommendation by next council meeting.
Be great. It'd be great. So, any other discussion? No, please call the roll.
Esti,
Yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Okay, great. That passed. So we'll move that to Ways and Means. Okay. Next up is Steve Boggs, city fence ordinance compliance.
Yes, so I'm not sure if you all got the 6-page document that you've already seen it. So you know, okay, I don't have to go through all that then. So I was speaking with Weston about this fence that's a public safety hazard, and he pointed out, well, it's already come to this council some years back, and they decided not to do anything about it. So he didn't feel like he was kind of hamstrung in terms of enforcement. So I'm coming to you guys now to point out that this is actually a public safety hazard, that police records show that from 2009 until 2023, there's been 5 car crashes at that intersection. And 1 block away, third and Harrison rather than 2nd and Harrison, there's been 1. And the signage is the same, the streets are the same. The only difference is there's this side yard fence on a corner lot that blocks visibility down Harrison when you're going south on 2nd Street. And this complaint came to the council and some years ago didn't decide to do anything about it. I think you should do something about it now by telling Weston we can enforce the city ordinance of which this fence is in violation.
Can you speak to maybe Dave, Chief Dave? Have
Yeah.
many of
Yeah, don't
those
take my word for it. I
accidents-
talked to him about it.
No, I know you referenced
You can
that.
check him.
Have many of those accidents happened since Fillmore was closed? Or is this really over from 09 to
09 to
to
2023.
2023? But to 2023, so this doesn't even include this year?
No.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And is there any timing of when this fence went up with fence ordinance?
Well before,
This fence went up well before.
Our recent,
Well, I know it went before a recent ordinance, but prior to that?
I don't know, it was before my
Do we know?
time here.
Maybe Melanie knows. So I'm just wondering if it somehow got grandfathered in.
So there's combinations of issues here. The original permit, what was constructed out there did not match what the original permit was. A lot of people don't know the difference between the property line and the edge of the street. And so that's where we often get it, that people will say, I'm building the fence 10 feet from the property line, but they're really building it 10 feet from the edge of the street. That's not the exact measurements in this case, but it was a similar scenario. This is kind of from memory, I believe then at that time it kind of came to administrative decision, it never came to council. It's not a really big issue, but we'll keep an eye on it, so to speak. Then, as the tree that was there continued to grow, the bump out was built. And the bump out has never been permitted. The entire north fence is actually in the city right away. There's nothing legal about the fence, but as Mr. Boggs mentioned, a couple years ago this issue was brought to council, and council just decided, hey, that fence has been there for a while, and the council at that time chose not to do anything.
When was the bump out constructed?
I don't know the exact date, but I mean, even prior COVID, it's been there for
Okay.
several years.
Right.
I believe though, and this is just having driven in the area, I think it's gotten larger as the tree has gotten larger. I'd have to go back through aerial photos to see.
And is the bump out like impeding the line of sight? It's hard to tell from these photos.
Yes,
If that's
yes,
what
the bump out
is
is,
the main concern because that's the closest to the street, right?
yeah. Like I said, the main fence is actually in the right of way as well, but the bump out is, the times I've driven through, I haven't.
Bump out is 6 feet from the edge of Harrison.
And that's
And
the
your point is
big,
15 feet.
yeah.
The main fence is 10 feet.
Thank you, Jason. Weston.
I mean,
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and you can't really,
there's the tree. so the
exactly
bump out
see it,
does.
but there's a little bit next to the tree. You can kind of see on the east side of the tree, the fence start to turn just a little bit, and it's an evergreen tree, so even if we flip back through the older pictures, you're not gonna have like a wintertime picture. That's not going to show you the edge of it, so.
Just in terms of like procedure, because I know that there are other fences in town that restrict vision, like the line of sight. Like I can think of like Second and Fillmore as an example when you're driving south on Second and you're turning on Fillmore, say you're taking a kid to the middle school, for example. But,
Yeah.
but I'm just wondering, how do we usually, when there are other issues in town or other code compliance issues, I guess, especially when it comes to public safety, like how do we address one over another one? And then what does that mean? Like I guess it's just kind of more of a procedure question.
So if it's already constructed, we would start with a citation and the nuisance violations or violations of the code. If they continue to not do anything about it, the situation would eventually have to go to court.
But I guess I understand that part of it. But are we
How are
looking
we
at this
picking
one
this one?
specifically because of the safety concern, and have we done studies at like other?
The police department makes it clear, this is a public safety hazard.
Well, if there are a number of accidents at that intersection, I can think of, okay, Second Street is paved and Third Street has not been recently paved. There's a lot more traffic, which direction was the car
I live in
going?
the area, there's not 5 times more traffic on Second than there is on Third.
So I think your question is how do we determine which cases
Right.
we use? Because we have limited staff and limited time.
Right.
So complaints, we do take things off of complaints or complaints where someone brings it to our attention. Hey, have you been by this way lately? Would you check this out? That might come from a water department employee who is reading meters, who doesn't normally read meters, and all of a sudden sees a different part of town and was like, would you go check that out? To Terry's point about Fillmore being closed, all of a sudden my personal traffic changes, or I had a kid go from middle school to high school and I'm driving a different area of town and I notice different things all of a sudden. So a lot of it is just what we're able to notice outside of what we get from citizens. So, I drive this way when I go to the middle school, and then the high school tennis courts are at the middle school, so I'm still driving this way a lot. And so I can visualize all of this. You tell me another street that I'm not on nearly as much. D and Fillmore was another fence that has been to Board of Adjustment as well. And that one again was brought up as it was being constructed. So it just depends on if we're notified or not. We don't get everywhere.
I know Dean Fillmore fell under a grandfather type and current fence thing being reconstructed.
Yeah.
And I don't know what all of our options or limitations are and when the permits were filed and when this was done and when it was added to. But I would like to probably refer it to either public safety or property, have them go through the permits and everything and bring it back to council with a recommendation of what we do with it.
We can we'll get copies of all that.
Okay, so
So
is
that
there?
is a motion.
there's-
And I don't know what you think, whether it should go to public safety or property, but I suppose property would be
Probably-
the obvious one, but public safety should be concerned with it, I guess.
Right, public safety.
Public
Public
safety,
safety,
that's
all
what I
right.
would say.
I will make a motion to move it to public safety to
Melanie,
review
is it your
documents. And
opinion that the entire tree and the pushout are on the city right of way?
Yeah, so the red line is actually the right of way. Oh,
Entire fences as well as the bump out, which you can't see because the tree covers it.
yeah, and because of the plats and how they all land and how things were divided, that street has a narrower right of way as you get closer to Main Street, and then in this slightly older section of town, the right of ways start to get a little bit bigger, and so more
Seems
than
to
likely,
me like we own it.
absolutely.
Well, I don't know, at this point, that's a through street, Harrison's a through street.
Yeah. Yep. And,
So that's the hazard street.
yeah.
Right,
Um,
that's right.
And I don't know, the more people call it to our attention, the more my thinking is if we own it,
right.
we should just decide what to do with what we own.
And I do think at the last council meeting that this was discussed. I mean, there was some discussion because the house is right on the property line. I don't know if the people at the time either had pets or young kids or something. I think that was maybe one of the reasons why they chose not to do anything at that time. But yeah, that would be my opinion, is that that whole fence is actually in the
Okay.
right of way.
So is there a second to move it to public safety?
Second.
Second by Esty. Any other discussion? Let's move it there and we'll discuss all these options. Notice,
Citizens allowed in these committee
Yes,
meetings?
you are.
Absolutely.
Will I be
Yes.
notified of that meeting?
Yeah, if I can get your email, I'll be glad to do that.
Also, it should be on our
the
calendar on the
question's
city
over.
website too.
Yep. Yeah, it's always posted on the website.
Yeah.
so, any additional questions?
We get
Okay,
a
please. Oh, yep.
invitation to the property owner for the, I mean, I assume we'll get an invitation to the property owner for the committee meeting as well, right?
Well, that's, I think,
Is that
not
possible?
normally, but we probably do that.
It could be a good idea.
Okay. Okay, so, please call the roll.
Toohill,
Yes.
Esty,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Thank you. Next up, Jefferson County Board of Supervisors. Is that you, Lee? You got 3 minutes. We got business to do.
We're gonna enforce the time limit on you.
It's good to get.
I'm here at the request of
At least
the
know what's
chair.
going on, right?
So, very quickly, long before the county opted to take over the ambulance service, we had the ambulance board comprised of the city, the county, and the hospital. And at that point in time, Julie Greason was tasked with going through the process, the steps of getting bids on a new ambulance. And so the bid that she received from Cabinet Lifeline was $224,000 and some change, which the county, the city, and the hospital agreed to split 3 ways. That figure came up to $74,000 and some change. I don't know the exact figures, but right in that ballpark, $74,500, somewhere in that ballpark. Very grateful. The city submitted $60,000 to the county to help pay for the new ambulance that actually, by the time it was all said and done, was about $257,000. You were subsequently, I guess, invoiced for an additional $14,000 and some change from the auditor's office, predicated upon the city's agreement. Tom mentioned that at one point in time in March of '23, an additional $14,000, again, and some change, would need to be set aside. I'm not going to lose any sleep. I was just informed, talking to Chief Thomas here, I don't know, a week or so ago, when we had a advisory council meeting, that the council had some questions or wanted to know what it was about. So that's what it's about, and I would attempt to answer any questions you have, if any. Am I under 3 minutes?
You are.
Okay,
Any
cool.
questions? Make them quick.
So I can summarize a little bit too. The original 60,000 was on when we had budgeted for the ambulance. It was going to be 180,000 when we placed our budget. So when the actual price of the ambulance came through, we'd already had our budget in place. So we asked the county to come to us and just give us a dollar amount of what they needed, and that hadn't been done yet until tonight officially. So this is the first request that we have for the additional. Give me the number again real quick.
And to clarify that, the 74,000 was predicated upon the bid that Julie received the
Right.
ambulance board of, like I say, of 224,000.
Right.
Then when the county came along and said, well, when it became obvious, and John was part of that conversation, as was Tom, when it became obvious that we were not going to be able to continue with the arrangements that we had with the previous provider, and the county took over, or agreed to take over. And I got to looking at the what Julie had been in consultation with Kevin on was not what we wanted. We wanted an ambulance that's similar to the two that we had, which was an F-450. What she had gotten a bid on was a
Right.
C-450, which is a smaller unit.
And I don't think we have any issues or any problem
No,
with any of that.
no,
But
and so-
what it was I'd mentioned to council that there
Right.
will be a request coming from the county for an additional fund to fund the new ambulance.
But I'm
And
also-
Representative Sandquist said she would send us the amount and everything.
Right.
We still have not yet received any of it. So you officially tonight are asking
Okay.
for,
Well,
what is, I know, what's the addition between what we gave and what the ambulance came in at? A third of it would be 14,000.
yeah, 14,000 and some change. Well,
Do we know
that-
what the change is so we can actually?
Well, when I divided the
Officially.
two, well, if somebody's got a calculator, I can tell you, it was $224,312 divided by 3. And I think that came to,
74,312.
okay, yeah, and so it'd be like, I don't know,
14,312.
okay. That works.
Okay, so,
But I will tell you that I am very, very well aware of that the city faces some of the same funding issues, obviously, because of House File 718 and that the county's facing. And so, like I said, we're very appreciative of the 60,000 that we received.
Well, and we know the ambulance is a situation that can't fail, and I know you're not in that position, but we do want to do our part too. So I would like to make a motion to recommend $14,312 payment for the remaining 1/3 cost of the ambulance.
Let's second that.
okay, it's been moved and seconded to pay the $14,312.
Where the funds gonna come from?
That will, we talked about this a little bit. We have it probably in what? Lost? Yes, in Lost, for under public safety, yes.
So any other discussion or questions?
I just want you to know I was under 3 minutes.
So, just for clarification, Julie is here tonight. Julie, did you want to add a detail? If you if you just come up here, if you would add a detail, whatever it was you wanted to say.
No, I don't do it. No, actually, when I priced the ambulance, when we were gonna split it 3 ways, it was a unit that they had on hand. So that's the difference in the price. They decided they didn't want the unit on hand, so when you order something, the price is what it is when you receive it. So that is the clarification on the difference, not necessarily, I mean, yes, they picked a different unit, but the fact that they didn't take one on hand already and it went that many months.
And I don't think we're disputing the cost or anything. We just had
Okay.
budgeted
Well, I just-
officially
Great. Thank you
a
for
set
that, for
amount, so we
clarification.
needed
Thanks,
to
Julie.
have a request for,
257, we never came back and asked
So-
for.
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Okay, if there's no other discussion, any questions, please call the roll.
Toohill,
Yes.
Esty,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Kness.
Yes.
Thank you, that was passed. So, Lee, I'm just gonna say one last thing, and I hope soon that there'll be some kind of profits and loss report on how the ambulance is going, you
I
know?
hope very
So,
soon.
great.
We are, just real quickly, and then I'll get out of here. We're sitting on, round figures about $600,000 of billables that we're waiting, to receive. We don't get all of that, obviously, you know about Medicare, Medicaid,
Yeah.
and insurance. So we do have cash flow coming in,
Right,
about 10,000 a week right now on average,
okay,
so.
great, thank you. Okay, under resolution action on ordinances, the first action item is consideration to embark 657A process on 703 West Broadway Avenue and 801 South 5th Street.
And we'll be short. 703 West Broadway is a house that the whole time I've been here is sat vacant, no siding on it. The tie vectors on it has rotted away and fallen off, windows missing, there's no flooring in it. I've contacted the owner one time and been able to serve him papers. He's since moved and has disappeared on us, and we have no forwarding address for him. So right now I don't even have a way to cite him at this point.
Okay.
So my feeling is that we should start a 657A process on it. That'll at least get them beat out of the weeds to where we can come up with a solution for this. That's the back of the house there. About the only thing really good about this is he's put a new roof on it, so it's got 4 walls. It does have a garage on the property. If he chooses not to work with us and we do have to 657A it, it's a very relatively inexpensive demo for us and a property that we can probably recover our money on.
Are taxes current?
I do not know. I think so.
Yeah, they're escrowed by Washington State Bank.
Okay. So,
Would they be able to give us a contact?
Potentially.
sometimes they don't like to give that out to me.
Well, they might be interested to know that you're wanting to tear down that property.
And that's where starting the 657A process
Yeah.
gets their attention. We've had really good success so far. Like we pointed out earlier with the Red House on Burlington, Mary's house on Hempstead, and some other properties that are getting turned over into investors because we're putting this pressure on. I think that's what will hopefully happen with this house, and we won't finish the 657A, but I believe it's something that we have to start so we get the result that we want.
So
Okay, so what,
I would move to direct our code compliance officer and city attorney to proceed with the 657A process or action on 703 West Broadway. Is that correct? That's the street? That's the address? Yeah.
is there a second? Okay, any discussion?
I'd like to suggest that when you have your Ways and Means meeting on 657A capability, that anything we do with a property like this gets discussed also. That I agree with Weston, this seems like probably a slam dunk or an easy thing to do, but the other side of it is if we're horsing around with this guy 6 months from now and we have to do public notice and we don't have the due process minimums completed yet, we're just going to be sitting there with a lawsuit in district court. District court's going to be riding our horse. So I think, let's talk about the other property too, but if you can talk about what it'll take on these two with your Ways and Means Committee, so you have an idea going forward how this is going to work each time, that might be a good experience for all of us.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
And counsel, if I may, that and I'll be brief, as Weston is looking at these properties for us to abate and take, we'd have to always keep in mind us having these discussions that we have to think about our coffers as well. So the idea with these properties is we want to send the signal that we are trying to clean up our cities. We do want them to be in compliance, but the number one cure is we want the property owners to clean them up instead of making us do that. It increases our liability, it decreases our funds, and we only have roughly right now $60,000, $45,000 to tear down houses. So we need to seek some of that understanding, and if they won't, then yes, we have to move forward. But we always have to keep that in the back of our mind. And speaking to the how do we decide aspect of which properties we address and which ones we don't, the attractive nuisance, the priorities, what is our biggest exposure and risk to the community, and that's how we need to have these discussions, and that's how Weston kind of decides what we have to do.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No, please call the roll.
Gandy,
Yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you, that was passed. Also, 801 South Fifth Street.
So we had a little confusion. I had 3 buildings to discuss today. And I thought this one got taken off of the agenda, but we can touch on it lightly. This house has been sitting empty for probably 4 years since the gentleman died in it. And his wife is in the nursing home and has no idea that he's even passed. Our problem with it is that she has no legal representation. We are currently mowing the yard and taking care of it.
Can I say something?
Yes,
This has a tax sale on it, an active tax sale.
it does, but they are not planning on redeeming. I've already talked to them.
Who's the tax sale investor?
It's something 1, 2, 3, 4 in Des Moines. Talked to them. They said, yep, it was a mistake. We shouldn't have bought it. They're gonna write it off.
So we could engage a community member that would be interested in a property like this to purchase the tax sale from them at what they have invested in it for a cost of $100 to transfer the tax sale certificate to that new person. Honestly, I think that
I don't know that we can do that, John. Is that something that we can do?
We can offer it.
Okay.
yeah, I mean,
They can
I- that's-
assign it,
I don't
they can
know.
assign it to whomever
Yeah, they
they'd
can assign it
like,
to whoever they
you
want.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we just have to let people know that that's an option out there. People go into the treasurer's office all the time. Hey, I'm looking for like tax sale, to invest in, and this would never be something that was on anyone's radar. So I think we just have to put the information out there in
Okay.
some way.
Yeah, and that's a great way to do this that I didn't know about.
Yep.
Um,
I don't know
was
what
learning.
year. It's not on the website as to what year the tax sale is.
I know that they can redeem it and they don't plan on it. I asked them to maybe even donate it to us as a write-off for them or anything. And they said, no, we want you to 657A it, is what they told me. So that's where they were at with it, is they,
But at this point, you wanted to take it off the agenda.
well, I think there was a lot of discussion that I didn't get to have with John, and after I put it out there that I wanted on there and John saw which property it was, I think there was a lot of stuff to talk
Okay.
about still. So,
So let's take no action on that one tonight.
Do you need a motion for that?
Who did you
I don't
say
think
is
so.
actively taking care of it? Is the city mowing it?
we're
and
mowing
things?
it now.
Okay.
Okay, and I think if you have another property, let's just put it on next council meeting since it's not here.
I think it's
Yeah.
probably one that Mr. Rowe would really like us to do.
I know
It will
what you're
only take
talking
a few
about.
seconds.
Uh-huh.
Well, if it's
I
not
can-
on the
Not
agenda, I don't think we
Okay.
can do it,
Yeah,
can we?
I'll mention it in my report when we get to the
Okay.
back end.
Okay, there we
Thank
go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next action item, authorizing city staff to submit Greater Jefferson County grant application, the amount of $500,000. Melanie is gonna come up. I can see that. She's moving towards the microphone.
Feel like the answer's yes.
Right?
Well, the
Feels that
actual, the main question is, I know that Greater Jefferson County does not normally fund things of that amount. So whatever amount we ask for is not expected, but if the council had any guidance on what amount that they feel we should ask for, that would be great. That application is due at the end of the week. I believe we chose 500,000 because we had been asking Washington County for 450,000. So that's why we put it on there.
This is for the,
Fire station.
Fire station.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry. The only grants I'm working on is fire station. Why can't you read my mind? But the disappointing news is we did hear back in the last couple weeks that we did not get Greater Washington County, and this morning I heard we did not get Miller Meeks. So we are down to a few options this year. We will of course keep working on them, and there are going to be the second one, the Farm Credit Service one, is going to be for some lockers and some gear. So we're going to be at the point where we're mainly applying for grants for pieces rather than larger construction at this point.
I think my only advice would be if you're going to ask for a grant in that amount is to ask for it over phases, like
A
over
pledge.
5 years,
Yeah.
a pledge. Mhm.
Pledge.
And with our, I mean, since we do have all of the funding established, it would be, this just cuts back on the city's contribution, and so that is something that we could do. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that would be, I would take anything like that in the motion in order to finalize the application. And then since it has to have an authorized signature on it, if you can just make me the authorized, allow me to submit it, then I don't have to track the mayor down on Friday to submit it.
I'm already overbooked on Friday about four times.
Yeah.
Terry, do you want to make a
Sure.
Motion.
I'd move to authorize Melanie to sign for, to submit a grant for the application in the amount of $500,000 in, I would just say in phases, maybe over 5 years.
And
Is there-
designating her.
I said that.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yes.
Second by Gandy. Any other discussion? Now please call the roll.
Kness,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Esty,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Okay, next, action item, authorizing city staff to submit Farm Credit Services of America Working Here grant application, the amount of $25,000.
And the 25,000 is the max amount that this grant is eligible for, but it is specific for agencies that support farm safety and like grain bin rescue and things that our fire department does. So again, we have a positive outlook on this application.
I'd move to approve the, Melanie to submit and sign for the Farm Credit Services of America Working Here grant application in the amount of $25,000.
Second.
Moved by Kness, second by Toohill. Any other discussion? Now please call the roll.
Kness,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Esty.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next is a resolution, consideration to provide support of workforce housing tax incentive program application. As you'll see from the couple documents here, Lisa Clifford Gold is here. She plans to build a duplex at 507 North Main Street, and this would be the city's participation. She's, again, filing for tax credits here in June. And, this is what we've done before, so,
I'd move to approve.
okay. Moved by Kness.
Second.
Second by Toohill. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that part of this, and I'll speak to this later, part of the Iowa Development 2024 conference that I attended along with others, which I'll mention. They talked about how you want to take advantage of state incentives. This is one of them,
Yep.
workforce housing tax credit. So I applaud Ms. Gold for moving forward with this.
Yep.
Good deal.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Go ahead and call the roll.
Kness,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Esty,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
So the next item is the consideration of our fiscal year 24 budget amendments. I'm going to open a public hearing. Does anybody, well, actually, before I open the public hearing, why don't you just, Rebecca, just review quickly this budget amendment, what we're doing.
So this budget amendment, it's 1.375834 over in expenses, budgeted expenses. We are offsetting that 745,000 in revenues. A good number of it is there are CDBG grants that we've been doing, the food incentive, the SUDA development up on the square, that's 450,000. Some of the culture and rec would be the REAP grant that we're doing up on Pleasant Lake. What am I trying to say? It's
Pleasant Lake?
Pleasant Lake. Yeah. And then the RAC grant. We also did the BAT grant. Lots of grants. We did we are expecting to get a little bit more in hotel motel than what was budgeted. Some of the lost requests that came in after budget. Property insurance, that was about 220,000 over what was budgeted because of the 15% increase. The ambulance subsidy was part of that. And then we did increase the public works by 423,000 just because we had a portion of Highway 1 started in the fiscal, and we thought was going to be in FY23.
Okay. So with that, I'll open the public hearing. Does anybody want to speak to any of those issues? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and council, if you want to move to approve this budget amendment.
So moved.
Moved by Esty,
Second.
second by Toohill. Any further discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Esty,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Okay, next is rezoning Walton Park Subdivision. This is a section on Walton Road to the north of the road, just west of the Prairie Lakes. And so I will open a public hearing. Does anyone want to speak to that? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. And then we have an ordinance to rezone Walton Park subdivision from an R1 to an R3. This is the first reading. And I guess there are plans to build R3 housing there.
Looks like they were already building R3. Maybe it's.
Where are you planning on building? Or where to open it to the R3?
So it's, when you go up Walton Road, you kind of get up to the top of the hill in the flat, and it's off to the left.
Ed Harvey's building.
Yeah,
That's right, that's right. that's
Ed
right.
Harvey has the,
Right.
So I'm not wrong.
yeah.
Already being built.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Maybe inhabited.
So is there a motion to move from R1 to R3?
So moved.
Moved by Gandy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Toohill. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Gandy.
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yeah.
Esty.
We're just moving this from the, yes, first to second reading, right?
Correct.
Is that right? Yeah, yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Okay, that passed unanimously. Under the mayor's report, just to let everybody know, on Friday, I'm doing a taping with Werner Elmker. This is, again, doing this monthly at the end, towards the end of the month. He's putting it out there, and we're talking about, what's happening at the city level. We're gonna talk just about a few things, because I'm gonna have Julie Kinsella there as a guest, talk about her career as a police officer. She is gonna be retiring this year. And so I think it'll prove to be an interesting conversation. And so I want to warm people up to that conversation I'm going to have. Also, I wanted to ask Paul to give a quick little report on the Economic Development Conference that he went to.
Thank you, Mayor. You said quick?
Quick. Yeah. Nothing good happens after 9 o'clock. And, we're doing pretty good. We got 8 minutes.
Really? On May 15th, two members of the council, myself and Terry Kness, as well as the executive director of the Fairfield Economic Development Association, Ed Malloy, and very active citizen Bob Ferguson, attended the Iowa Development 2024 conference in Cedar Rapids. It was sponsored by the Iowa Utilities Association. And it's interesting, you go to this conference and what they had were probably many people from cities around Iowa, people in administration, elected officials, and also interested citizens. Attend the conference, which was put on by the IUA, who, it turns out, and many of you may know this, I did not, they're the largest property taxpayer in the state. So, and obviously more business, more growth, more need for power, more business for them. So they have a clear interest in seeing our state grow. It was an interesting conference. And we had a full slate of events, our speakers for the day, including our governor, who apparently is a personal friend of Terry Kness. We also had our Attorney General and also Deb Durham. Deb Durham, as you know, is the Executive Director of the Iowa Development Authority, as well as the Iowa Finance Authority, very active around the state in moving the state forward in terms of economic growth, and has been a very good friend of Fairfield. An example would be our
Cambridge Little Achievers Center, which she, in terms of bringing in state resources, was instrumental. We hope to work with her again in the future. Throughout the day, there were some breakout sessions. One that I found particularly interesting was on TIF. I can always learn something about TIF. To me, it's a complicated subject. So they had counsel that we often use, Allers Cooney, one of their attorneys, speak about TIF and how you can use it. Also, they spoke about different aspects of the Iowa Code, different parts of the Iowa Code that you can use for development. And I found it interesting and also useful in the sense that I understood things better. You had a chance to meet with other people in different cities who spoke with you in the various networking exhibit breakouts. So there were some ideas that hopefully we'll be sharing over time when we meet with the Property Committee, for example, and Economic Development Committee. There's certainly things they said there that were very interesting. One of the things I found most enjoyable was a panel, which you had mayors from Nevada, Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, and the fourth city, I can't remember the name at the moment, monitored by Clear Lake, emceed by Debbie Durham. And it's interesting to hear, these are larger and smaller cities, roughly about our size would be Nevada, and Clear Lake a little bit smaller, but in the same size range. And then the larger cities, Cedar Rapids and Des Moines. It's interesting to hear their ideas, and they were talking primarily about economic development. From that point of view, there were things that I think we gain. I think Terry might agree, and Ed, who was there as well, that we can use in terms of growing our city. So all in all, it was a day well spent, an investment from the city. It was a low-cost conference, I think $80 plus our cost of transportation. Well spent. I think there'll be ideas that'll pay out for the city over the years to come. So I think it was a good conference. I could see our city on that panel. I could see our city in that panel this year, certainly years to come, because we have ideas to offer and we're doing some great things here. So it was a good conference, and I think, as I say, you'll see ideas from it flower here in Fairfield over the next several years. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. City Attorney report?
Yes, everybody on council should have received a handout on body camera policy. And two of the policies that I'm recommending are just adopting policies that the police department's been using for years, as far as dash cams and body cams and the different things that have to do with making sure that the camera is used properly and appropriately. If we're going to have fire department inspection, rental inspection members body cameraing, if we're going to have our housing inspector, code enforcement inspector, Weston carrying a body camera, it's going to probably prompt some people to grumble until they realize they're on film. And I think that's the thing that's been discovered over time, is that body cameras, they don't misrepresent circumstances. It's not a he said, she said. It's a good additional piece of verifying video. As far as our experience with video cameras, we haven't had situations of embarrassment with our police department. Generally, they support us if we need to view something that an officer says happened and it's there in the video cam that recorded for evidentiary purposes. It's going to bolster what the officer has to say if there needs to be testimony. Similarly, if there's a disagreement between what we've said when we go into a property, whether it's for a rental inspection, whether it has to do with a nuisance inspection, it's going to bolster our position as far as the fact that it will show us being polite, courteous, non-intrusive as far as the way we conduct ourselves when we are doing our inspections. And the summary outline at the front of the things that come directly from our police policies and procedures manual, summarize this pretty much as far as the way I think we should do it. Weston, you haven't been outfitted yet, have you, as far as wearing one? All right, but that's coming real soon. And as far as our fire department, housing inspectors, rental inspectors, they will probably have a sit down at some point. I think this material, as far as the way the police department keeps track on its body camera information, at some point we want our personnel to make some common sense judgments about the things that are coming in every day on their cameras. What parts of that looks like it will be evidentiary, that they might need that for some reason later on. And the rest of it gets archived for a few days. I don't know the capacity of our cameras, but I assume it may be, you save it for maybe 72 hours or something, and then you don't save it. 30 days minimum? Okay, I should read the policies. All right, so you save it for 30 days and then you reuse your tape. But if you're saving it for evidentiary purposes, you may be saving it for years.
30
So,
days is minimum.
yeah.
Usually it's up to a year.
Okay, all right. Well, anyway, that's what my recommendation is as far as us using body cameras outside of law enforcement. And basically, it's a form of code enforcement that they will be used for. And I'm hopeful that to the extent we have some people out in the community that want to argue with our enforcement officers in the civil area, that it will make them more civil, and I'm confident that our own personnel, when they're out in the field, are polite to people. I expect that this will probably cause people, if they realize that they're filmed, that they should be polite right back. The other part of this that is a sometimes issue in litigation is if you're alleged to be too intrusive. So that again is a common sense question. There are probably some places in people's households and so forth that you would accord them what you understand to be the areas of expectation of privacy. You're not going to follow a person in their home as you're inspecting particular areas of the home. You're probably not going to follow them into the bathroom. You're probably not going to follow them into the bedroom, but you may go into those rooms at some time at the right time with the right permission. But other than that kind of situation, our goal is to be courteous and also to save a record of what the conversation was. So,
Okay, so are we gonna have this on the next agenda to just adopt?
yeah, I want you to take
Adopt.
these and read them.
Okay.
I expect that Weston and the fire department guys are probably gonna read them. And if there's something else that should be thrown in, all I'm gonna do is a resolution
Okay,
that adopts these as policies that the city wants to adhere to as far as the use of body cameras by its civil enforcement personnel.
okay. So we'll put that on the agenda for next time.
All right. The only other thing I want to mention, I don't have it down as a topic, but it'll take me just a couple minutes and it'll be for another time. Most of us have had kids at some time that when they were little kids, they went neighborhood to neighborhood and got lost. And there were stars in the windows of some homes, and the kids could knock on the door. And if they did, the people in the house would say, oh, well, we're part of Blue Star neighborhood, and we'll call your folks, and they'll come and get you, and everything will be just great again. Officer came in the other day talking about neighborhood watch program. It's not the same as a Blue Star program for kids, but it does sound like it could be interesting to see how that would work in our community. I'm going to have the officer, I assume he talked to you, Dave, that would be Mr. Nielsen, and Braden Nielsen is going to generate some more material on virtual neighborhood watch program. I think it's probably something we talk about and see if it seems like it would be compatible in our neighborhoods in this town. I think it would be helpful to the police if we had something like that. And it's just another piece of information that helps in gathering different perspectives on things that are happening that law enforcement should know about. So we'll have more on that. I just want to get the word out that virtual neighborhood watch program will be something you have a box on your agenda for a couple times in the next 2 or 3 meetings. That's all I have.
Before the end of the meeting, I just want to say one thing about 51 West Broadway before the end,
Oh, okay.
if that's all right.
Let's go to committee and board reports.
Your Mayor, one more thing.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
This is
Go ahead.
just a one sentence. Rebecca confirmed to me that we got the clerk of court to send us the $5,000 check we talked about the last meeting. So
Good.
we've been paid back.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Under committee reports, Paul wanted to say something real
Real
quick.
quick, I just want to, there's a potential for a real jewel of Fairfield that's being developed right now in the square. It's 51 West Broadway. Is that the address? 51 West Broadway. We have a citizen, Najah Dawaji, who's developing, that's a building with the turrets, turning that into 10 condominiums. She's going to have, I believe, a gym, a restaurant, plenty of storage for the condo unit owners. And we had an opportunity. She invited city to visit this last Saturday, and I believe in the morning we had, I visited, the mayor was there, Doug Flournoy, a council member, and also Judy Ham. In the afternoon, I believe, I don't know if they did go, but I think,
And nobody was there.
oh, sorry. Tom Toohill and Elizabeth Essie, also council members, I think they were going to go later for the afternoon. I'm not sure if they did or not. But in any case, she's doing a wonderful job. She's really, I mean, I'm not a construction expert, but I don't think she's cutting corners. This is going to be something that's going to be really special on the square. She's already sold one unit, which is actually a pretty extraordinary unit on the 3rd floor to an out-of-state buyer. So I think, and as she continues to move on, she's really sort of stuck her neck out to get this done. And as the mayor was mentioning earlier, she's got quite a bit of money invested, and the city has supported her with a letter of support that allowed her to get a downtown housing revitalization grant. So she's more than halfway done, maybe 75% of the way done, I think she told us. Different units of different sizes, different price ranges. So I think over the next several months you'll be hearing more about it, and people are interested in, if they're out of state or in state and they're looking for some place besides a home that is standing on its own, a condominium that has nice views of the square, and you're on the square, and the action is, well, this is going to be something to seriously consider. So we thank her for really adding to our housing, bringing some really quality housing to our local housing stock. I think it's going to be really something that people are going to appreciate, and many people are going to want to own a unit in it. So thanks, Najah. Yeah.
Great. Planning and zoning minutes. Do you want to say anything, Mel? Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Planning and zoning? They're for your purview. Okay. Water and sewer utilities.
Yeah, we do have a couple sewer bills to discuss here, but I'll make it quick. The subcommittee is recommending to council, and so I'll make a motion that we reduce the sewer bill for 402 North 3rd Street by $563.63. They had a ruptured boilerplate pipe, and it didn't go into the sewer system, so.
Okay. Is there a second to that? Second by him. Any other discussion or questions? Go ahead and call the roll.
Rowe,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Kness.
Yes.
Okay, great.
All right.
Passed unanimously.
Excellent. Second one, Guild Drive and UC Vostu on campus. There was a leak. Again, didn't go into the sewer system, so I'll make the motion that we reduce the sewer bill in the amount of $403.35.
Have they requested a reduction before?
If they have,
Not this particular address.
Oh, okay.
And what was the address again?
Guild Drive and UC Vostu was what was written on the paper for us.
Because we go by like specific addresses, right? When we
Yeah, Gail
we
Drive
only
has
get
specific
one.
addresses.
Okay, so $403.35.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kness. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Rowe,
Yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Ham, yes.
Great, thank you.
All right, there's a third item here, which, again, I don't know how long we want to spend discussing this, but we were talking about new water meters, Merton devices, I believe they're called. They're digital. They send a text once a day to the city council with details about a person's water usage, so we don't have to send anyone around to houses on the regular. The city's already budgeted for them. We did a test run in Suburban Heights, and the subcommittee is recommending to council that we move forward with installations in other neighborhoods in accordance with our plan.
Can you clarify, the text is sent once a day to whom?
City council, I guess the latest
To
front desk
the water department.
and the water. Yeah.
Okay.
City Hall.
Like, I'm not getting
City
a text
Hall.
message.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry. Not city council, city hall.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have,
Yeah.
No thanks.
I
gonna
just
get 'em all
want to clarify, I just want to clarify that
Yeah.
that each homeowner has the opportunity to have it sent as an email, through email, the app. So you could monitor it when you're away from home,
Yeah, that's great.
all the other stuff, and it indicates where the water is moving, whether you got a leak or not. Very helpful when you see the information.
And I'll help us catch leaks faster
Yes.
also
Yes.
to alert people who maybe don't have it, right?
Right.
Okay, great. So it was moved by Matthew to move forward into more neighborhoods with this installation. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kness.
Quick
Any other
question,
discussion?
are we budgeted for the cost of this?
Oh yeah, I believe so.
Okay, we have, okay.
And Paul,
Okay.
as we progress through the city with this, the exchange then of sending people out compared to having these in the home and installation are gonna offset each other, so.
Good.
Go ahead and call the roll.
Rowe,
Yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Great, thank you. Is that it, Matthew?
That's it from the water and sewer
Okay,
committee.
Thank
Yep.
you, Mr. Rowe. Public safety and transportation.
This evening, we met with Alex Stanley and Chris Johnson of the Blue Rose Ballroom and Blue Rose Bistro that is being restored of the old armory, as we have lovingly called it through the years. So it's coming under a new name and a new function. And their request, as they're planning to repave the public parking lot that is at the northeast corner of Broadway and B, as they pave and they're going to be putting in some street landscaping, that they would ask the city that there would not be overnight parking there. We do have 12-hour parking designated, but they're asking not overnight, as they would anticipate that there would be community and events and things going on there. What we foresee is this would be handled the same way we do if there's any event going on around the square, where they would make a request for barricades at the time when they knew that they had a specific event coming up, let's say a bus or something coming in for guests that they are going to be having at the ballroom, or other such things. And that way, there would be notification ahead of time for that public parking use, the same as we do with our city streets. Go ahead, if you got a question or you have a comment.
When?
Sorry. So the recommendation then would be that we would make that change of designation of no overnight parking
permanently?
If you want to discuss it, that's fine. We're just
Okay.
making that recommendation.
Okay, all right.
So basically, like in exchange for those two entities repaving and then doing additional like landscaping of the parking area, in exchange, the city would then designate that parking to be no overnight parking.
No overnight parking.
It's already 12 hours, so,
Well,
No?
part of it is 12 hours, but also doesn't specify no overnight parking. So I guess ostensibly that could be 12 hours overnight. We'd be changing that. And then there's also a section of it that is for long-term parking. We already have other long-term parking lots around the city that people can take advantage of. So that's just one that we would be designating otherwise.
The reason for the designation is that gives them the opportunity to ask for the barricades and things to be set up ahead of time when they would be needing the parking lot for specific events.
And just as I drive by it over the course of however long I've lived here, a long time, it seems like it's utilized a lot for heavy equipment, long-term parking. So they're large, like very large utility type vehicles being parked there.
Yeah, Melanie
For
says
very long periods of
mainly
time.
like contractors will use that area.
Yeah. But yeah, not for 2 days. They're just there all the time.
So do we need to have any kind of resolution on that?
We
Is
will.
that-
They'll have to come next
Okay.
council meeting.
Okay, so bring up, yeah, so you'll put that on the agenda for a resolution?
Yep.
Okay.
yeah.
Ordinance.
An ordinance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have contractors using parking heavy pieces of equipment at the city's expense, wear and tear?
It's gravel.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
it's
still, it's good for them, huh? Good for the city.
not for much longer.
Right. Yeah, this seems like a better use.
Those halcyon
does,
days,
Higher use.
parking your
Economic
construction
development.
Yes,
trucks.
yes.
But if you're one who has those trucks, you appreciate when there's a parking lot that you can park in.
And they
It can
find
be
them.
tough finding
Yeah,
parking.
yeah, I get that. But this seems like a higher use for what we're about, what's happening there.
That's a definite overall benefit. I mean, that's what we thought too, and especially because it's
It's-
gonna be repaved, it's
yeah.
gonna be really nice parking.
And it's going to be a huge need if they're going to accommodate as many people and people actually show up
Yeah.
for it. I mean, we need every space available
Yes,
for
for
just
sure.
cars.
Yeah.
But we
And
did
it needs
have
to be
that.
nice.
Yeah, we did have that, just the mention of it, that going forward, we're gonna have to be thinking a lot about parking just all the way around as the city is starting to shift and repurpose where we're living and where we're doing business, those kinds of things, and what that looks like for service industries that are taking care of our needs. And so we need to be thinking about those types of parking needs as well as the buildings and their uses, so.
Great. Okay, administrative department reports?
You have an action from that? We had a vote.
Dave and I were talking about when we do the parking,
there was no vote.
the ordinance change for the parking, that we may also consider changing the fines associated with, our parking fees, that apparently it's currently $10 and that out-of-towners laugh at our police department. So that's what we were back there talking
We
about.
don't want that.
Mr. Gandy, to clarify on your question when we were talking about the meter installation. So every year the water department budgets to replace a certain number of meters, not the whole city. So when they said that that things are budgeted, it's budgeted to replace, I don't know, maybe 100 meters or 200. I'm not exactly sure how many they can replace for that amount. So I just wanted to clarify, we're not going to be doing the whole city next year. I believe the motion was to just start replacing as we go.
Right.
So I wasn't for sure if that was clear. The meter installation will actually come forward to you as an ordinance change as well, because the type of meter is called out in our ordinance book as well. So, other than a lot of construction, we have a few other things coming up. If you have any questions on the actual construction stuff, I can answer that. But a couple things I wanted to point out is the Jefferson and 9th Street water main is working on will be working on the water service connections, so taking the old service lines, connecting them to the main. Unfortunately, due to timing, the first day that they're going to be doing this is the day that the outdoor pool is supposed to open. So they are going to start on the connection for the rec center first thing on Thursday morning. And hopefully construction continues to go well for them and we're able to open the outdoor pool on time that day. That is the first major hiccup that project's seen, but we are communicating with them and Calvin. And I mean, the pool is filled and everything, but it would be other water needs if there becomes a problem that day. So we'll keep everything posted on the city's website if there becomes a problem there. Two other kind of long-standing, bigger issues in the Public Works Department is the lead and copper service lines. So the EPA several years ago required all cities or all water supply agencies to identify the construction material of the water service lines to their areas, or within their area. And a couple years ago, we sent out paper surveys and electronic surveys in all of the water bills to get a volunteer, start a volunteer response to this. We did get about 600 responses, but we have around 4,000 customers, so we have a lot to go. We had hoped to do this with existing staff, but with front staff changeover and construction projects, we didn't. We did decide to advertise and hire a summer employee. It was on your agenda tonight for Tyrell Curtis, an MIU student who will be here this summer, wanting to pay for his wedding coming in August. So he's looking forward to the work, and we're looking forward to having him. Once he gets orientated, we will, actually one of his first things is we're gonna have him write a bio about himself with his picture for the website and Facebook so people can start to recognize him, because he is going to be going door to door and be out in the community a lot getting this information. We do understand that not everyone's gonna want us in their house, and so one of the things he's gonna be carrying is a door hanger that for people who are not at home, when he's there, it's going to say, you know, why, but this can also be given to people who have questions. So it's going to say why we're there, that we're requesting access to complete the EPA required survey. The people can either contact the office to arrange an appointment, or they can fill out the form online. And then we'll have a QR code on the back that they can go to our website that has more information about the EPA rule and the everything that goes along with why we are doing this. And then also city staff information will be there. Tyrell will have a city vest on, be driving a city vehicle, and have a city identification tag. So we will make sure that he's, we're gonna get him out there and make sure it's very well known that we have someone going door to door to start this work. But it is something we are required to do, as I was researching different information to help get him trained and to start writing some of these letters. You know, every city in the United States is going through this. So,
So Melanie, once you let them in the house, what do they do?
so they will go, assuming the property owner or the person that lets them in knows where the water meter is. You can tell he's going to be carrying a pocket knife and some magnets, and between those two things, should be able to tell what the material the plumbing is made out of on either side of the meter. We know that, you know, some places are going to be enclosed and we're not going to see everything. We know some things are going to be a combination of multiple materials, but we're going to get whatever information we can get. Copper material is generally brown in color. If it's extremely corroded, you can scratch it off a little bit and eventually get down to the shiny copper color. Lead is a metallic color but is not magnetic, whereas galvanized or most other metal materials that are used in water main are magnetic, so he'll be carrying a magnet. So assuming things are accessible, he could very well, it could take 10 minutes, 5 minutes, even less, if it's accessible. So it won't take take them longer to fill out the form of what the address is than to actually be in there.
Okay, great, thank you.
And then lastly, and I won't go into a lot of details today because we'll actually present the sidewalk, the ADA transition plan when we get to that point. But I did have an opportunity to sit down with our GIS provider that did the sidewalk survey or the classifications. What they did is they counted the number of defects within a given block, and that ultimately gave it a score. And so in my packet is just a very generic overview, I mean a big screenshot of the entire city. And if you are someone who walks the sidewalks or bike or run or whatever, you'll be like, yep, I know that sidewalk when you see the colors on it. So it's a very with green being the best, red being the worst, it's just a really quick overview that's going to allow us to do the required report, but allow for some future planning as well. So we'll continue to go through this, eventually do a draft report to probably public safety, maybe property, I'm not sure, but this is a required document because of the number of employees we have and because we receive federal grants. So, the number of defects per lineal foot of the section that was graded, so some of the sections might be a block or they might be a 2 block. But some areas are definitely worse than others. It was interesting. Like I said, there were some areas that surprised me and then there were other areas as soon as I saw the map, I'm like, yep, I know that area. Yep, that sidewalk is in bad shape. So we'll continue on with that. And also one of the other summer help that was on your agenda, she'll be helping me finish up some of the site work that needs to be done to finish this report.
Great, thank you. Mr. Reiner?
I'll segue in from Melanie's report into a few things. I'll skim over mine quickly, but there's a couple of things that I do need to point out. We have DOT training on June 4th. It is the Title VI non-discrimination training for the city of Fairfield. It is so that we are in compliance with the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It's so Public Works, myself, the mayor, and the council is invited if you would like to attend. I actually got an update today that the time is actually 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. rather than 2:30, but they will be there. We don't get to choose. The mayor or myself will be asked to sign a non-discrimination agreement, and this helps us. Not only should we be doing this anyway, but it also helps us apply for grants and what have you in the future, and we have to do this every 5 years, I believe, but it may be more frequently than that.
Where is it being held?
Here in City Hall. They would be coming here. So if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call, but I'd like to see you here. The next one that I would like to talk specifically about is the Strategic Response Team. The SRT has been reinstated. It was paused for a moment for some recalibrations, but fortunately, after last week's events, I'm glad that it was reinstated. And we will still be talking about what happened last week for quite some time. We've got a few meetings this week, tomorrow and Thursday. I'm trying to make sure my days are aligned. But to understand what that is, that the SRT is a highly trained police officers with very specific skills in difficult situations that keep us safe. This is an elite tactical group that rapidly responds to high-risk law enforcement operations and conduct criminal investigations that lead us to the arrest of violent criminals. They were used last week, and I was there, and Melanie was there, a few of us were there, and it was a learning experience, and it was interagency cooperative, and I really need to say thank you to the county sheriff's department, our police department, the fire department, the Iowa Highway Patrol, and EMA. They did their jobs. We just kind of gave them water and supply so they can continue to do their jobs. It was very important. It was very impressive, and it is something that, you know, we think never happens, but it does happen. And I'm glad that they were there. And all I saw was professionalism and calmness. They handled it. It was amazing. That's all I have tonight.
Can I make a sidebar?
You bet.
It's not a spectator sport, people. So it's not a time to come down and watch or bring your children. These are dangerous situations. You need to stay home and let the police do their work, because they can't be distracted. It's too dangerous for our people. So I know it went out to the schools and pick up your kids, and you know there was a post, but again, that's not a call to come down and watch. So please stay home next time. That was a little bit frightening for me. Anyway, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Kenneth, second by Ham. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, council. Appreciate your time.